Clubhouse.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beacon 23 recap. Before we begin, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Boat Rocker. They're the awesome folks behind Beacon 23 as well as the much anticipated new series Orphan Black Echoes.
Oh man, Orphan Black was the bomb. So I really can't wait to watch Orphan Black Echoes actually.
And in case you're totally interested in tuning into Orphan Black Echoes, I'm going to give you a quick premise of what to expect. First of all, set in the year 2052, a whole 37 years after the original series wrapped up, Echoes takes us into the lives of the now adult Kira and her wife. The two leading ladies include Kristen Ritter, who is Marvel's Jessica Jones, and Keely Hawes from Bodyguard. Together, they set off on a mission to help a girl with amnesia piece her life back together. And I hear it's a wild ride, team.
Cool. When and where can we watch it?
I'm glad you asked. Orphan Black Echoes premieres Sunday, June 23rd on AMC, AMC Plus, and BBC America.
I can't wait to see the next chapter of the Orphan Black universe.
Today's Beacon 23 recap is brought to you by Boat Rocker, producers of Beacon 23 and the upcoming series Orphan Black Echoes. Previously on Beacon 23, the story jumped back in time to young Aster Calyx posing as a replacement beacon keeper to relieve Jocko, the keeper for Beacon 60. After arriving a month earlier than expected, Aster reveals her true mission as she forcibly reroutes a military ship away from its destination in favor of a food shipment meant for a far-flung colony. Though surprisingly sympathetic to Aster's resistance-minded leanings, Jocko has a lot of explaining to do when Aster stumbles across a soldier he's been keeping prisoner in one of the beacon's airlocks. Not knowing who to believe, Aster puts herself in the middle of a situation with no right answers and has to decide the fate of Jocko's prisoner. Welcome back. This is Paul with Pod Clubhouse, back again for the penultimate episode of the second season of Beacon 23. This is the 7th episode called Free with my co-hosts Inez and Gabby. How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic. So excited.
This was a very action-packed episode. Deaths, killings, other kinds of action as well, face slammings.
Yeah, it took me back, man. It took
building.
me back to the first season.
It's been, I guess pretty tame in comparison with just like druggings and stuff this season. Or not even druggings, lullings, voice actuated lullings. How did you like Iris with her "don't even try, I have earplugs" statement in this one? When the Sibarian woman starts to try to sing her back into submission after her escape.
Adorable.
I loved it. I love that she was ready. She already solved the problem and she wasn't going to go through that again. And that is right on par with who Iris is.
She really stepped it up and showed her leadership in this one.
There was that moment at the very beginning when they show Dasto and the exsanguinator. And something about that reminded me of Dune and the Fremen people with the comparison to the Sibarians anyway. Did you guys happen to watch Dune 2?
No.
Negative over here.
Have you read Dune?
No.
Negative.
Are you aware that there's this thing called Dune?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the Fremen are the people that live in the desert, and they do not waste any kind of moisture. And, they're the sort of people that if you die, they not only strip you of your clothing and your valuables and stuff like that to be redistributed amongst the tribe, but they also will suck out all your moisture and add it back into their gigantic water system that they use for themselves to replenish their little society because the desert is so harsh. I didn't see the exsanguinator as like some sort of punishment. I thought it as like a reclaiming of resources.
Oh, yeah, so did I actually, not having watched Dune.
That's two of us.
I just heard them say to do the transfusion to slow bleed him to death. And I just assumed that's all it was doing. And I didn't think that they were going to use the blood for anything. They don't have like a refrigerator around them or anything. So I don't know what they were going to use that for.
I think they were resourceful, like,
just in case blood.
Yeah, something for later.
Yeah, maybe some kind of food, they don't know where they're going.
Some kind of marinade.
I mean, they didn't have a ship or anything. They were just going to do it. I mean, you think that they were going to eat the blood? Is that like for nutrition?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Potentially.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm just sure they had a use for it that I would need to know were I as needing to be as resourceful as they are, as as we noticed with like their clothing and stuff, it's all very like recycled looking.
I got it. It was for a human smoothie,
more or less.
I would have thought like pills.
Pills.
Like lamba spread, just like a little bit, just to put on your tongue, let it melt. It goes a long way.
Like a Dasto.
That's what I thought.
That did not taste good.
Pop-Tart, some
Doesn't
sort.
matter how it tastes.
So this episode it also has with Dev revealing their true colors more so than before. We wondered, at least we asked showrunner Glenn Mazzara about Dev's intentions and whether or not Dev would even like being imprinted. And he was sort of cagey about it. But he did say that he didn't think Dev was a monogamous AI. And that comes out right away, doesn't it?
That was a really good answer to that. Makes perfect sense now, for sure.
It's almost like they needed Dev in the story to do a couple of little things, because Dev can talk to the machines and make machine things happen, like releasing Dasto, releasing the Sibarians to kill Dasto, etc. Dev had a small purpose that conceivably could have been handled by Harmony, but we found out from Glenn that they just liked having Dev around. So they created a role for Dev to have, is what it seems like to me.
Yeah, and I totally get it now. He said that he liked that Dev was just kind of the mischief of the beacon, and I do appreciate that Dev had, an arc, I guess, a beginning, middle, and end. And sure, just like the Eagles, right? Could have taken everybody to Mordor, right? It doesn't matter because, like, the story is what matters, right?
The journey,
and
right.
So, correct. So seeing Dev be a little sadist, I appreciated that coming out of an AI because we haven't seen it before. And that other than with Aleph, but he, has like an intention. This is just purely for fun. And so that's something that I did appreciate. And I felt like it was only natural to occur from an evolved AI. I mean, if they can, why not?
I'm going to stick on Dev because Dev's whole story is pretty short in this episode. I don't know how I felt about learning that Harmony ultimately had complete control over Dev this whole time, because more or less Harmony begat Dev.
I know, that was so funny.
That's funny.
What'd you think, Inez, when Harmony was just like, I'm undoing you?
That's mine.
I retain ownership.
What are you doing?
Fixing all your bugs.
It made me curious to kind of go by, like, why was Harmony so fearful of Dev in all these other episodes? It made it seem like there was no control whatsoever, and then just constantly interjecting at all of Dev's like little mischievous points, right? And it really did seem like there was absolutely no control, and that it was defined as somehow Dev returned from out of like that AI prison space, or like we even like theorized potentially having come in externally, like back in when that ship connected or whatever, because of how these things landed simultaneously. Looks like the portal thing and whatnot, it was all kind of coincidental and not actually a Dev thing, just coincidence that it happened simultaneously.
Right, I think that's correct, yes.
So
I
said
that.
Say
Been,
one more
but...
time, though. Say one more time. I feel like answering your question, like, why would she look so scared? Why would she interject all the time? I think it's because she's an AI and she's lonely and she's evolved, and that shouldn't happen. And so she was fascinated with this happening with Dev. The fact that she owned Dev all along then makes me think, okay, Dev was kind of like her troubled child. And have you seen The Good Son? Right? Isn't it The Good Son with Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's like
30 years ago, but sure. It's right on the top of my mind.
So Well, good. Me too. Me too, Paul.
Okay.
I'm 32. How old are you? Huh? Just kidding. Anyway, so, yeah, I feel like this was like her child, and she said that I thought you had potential or whatever. And so Harmony, you know, is the heart of the show. And we said that before, but also the wonderful executive producer Glenn Mazzara also stated that Harmony, like he feels like Harmony is the heart of the show. And so I think that maybe because she, ironically, Inez is the most empathetic person. And I'm saying that because you're such an a-hole at AI. Okay. But she is the one, Harmony the one, and she is the empathy and the link. And so I think that, you know, there was some hope in this AI for Dev, and just the little Dev like just kind of did too much. And finally she's like, you know what? Sorry. Like, I guess I am just going to be lonely forever. So I think that's why she was hesitant on like shutting her down.
That does make sense.
Wait, can you tell Paul the end of the good son?
Yes, the bad son dies.
It's her son. So her son. She
Her
kills her
son.
son. She doesn't
Her
kill
son,
her
the
son.
bad
She just
son.
lets her son die. There you go.
Yes.
Wow. No, I didn't remember that.
She has to choose. So there are two boys. It's like her nephew or something and her son, and like the other little boy, Elijah Wood, her nephew or something, has to live with her. But it turns out that Macaulay Culkin, her son, is like a little sadist, and she kind of knows it, but she doesn't know like how bad it is. But you get to know through their experiences. And then at the very end, you know, I guess Macaulay Culkin, the bad son, pushed Elijah. Something happens. They're both over a cliff, and she's holding on to both of them, and she has to choose because they're slipping, and she lets go of her son, and she chooses to save Elijah. So I'm saying that that's like what Harmony did.
Yeah, when you put in that context, you know, now that we do know that she did have ownership, that's a fact. So we just have to now add that context to what we witnessed before. And so that does make sense, like because of recognizing that Dev had this special thing where they experience emotions the same way that Harmony experienced emotions, but it was on the opposite spectrum. And so I guess her seeing the potential that you have access and capability of these specific emotions that you already gone through, so therefore you are capable of coming over to the other side or recognizing these other things and learning these other things. Maybe that's why she was so protective about her imprinting on anybody, because she felt like they were not ready, you know, Dev was not ready or, you know, to be able to handle that in a responsible kind of way.
Yeah, okay. What throws me is remembering when Dev first shows up and Harmony's like, what are you doing here? I think that might be a quote. So for the end of that relationship to be like, yeah, I made you and now I can unmake you is just a kind of a question mark. But perhaps it was some sort of subconscious thing, like you were saying, born out of loneliness and some other unquantifiable background processes in her program that built Dev for her.
She was also very spotty this entire time that she's been back online, with a lot of like intrinsic pondering constantly,
learning a lot.
And then not being at full strength, pieces of information coming later on. So it could have been like at some point she did remember that this was the case, and that's why she just owned it so blatantly. But we didn't necessarily need to know that transitional journey. We just know that she was broken. She's experiencing all these new things very rapidly, and there's a lot of shit going down during all of this time, during her recovery time, right? So
well, then she finds out that her begotten is murderous, right? doesn't particularly like being imprinted on, apparently, and then arranges to have her imprintee killed. Not a proud mama moment, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because that's kind of on her hands, right? On Harmony's hands, the blood.
A little.
But he's gonna die anyway, so
yeah, he was a piece of shit. He was an intergalactic piece of shit, as it turns out. Yes.
And nobody cared about him. If it wasn't them, it would have been the military. Nobody cared.
On paper, he was probably already dead, as having been on the Sibarian system. So yeah, he was done for.
Yeah, Dasto's purpose was to guide us through why Dev was so keen on imprinting on somebody. I don't think that I really fully understood the obsession of it outside of just wanting to be like Harmony and knowing that Harmony could do it. So Dev wanted to do it, but it looks like it just turned out because they didn't want to be tethered to Harmony's totem, and to do that he needed to imprint on someone else. And this person was like, we're gonna leave, and then that's kind of like the command that gives the AI permission, be like, yeah, okay, we're gonna leave. You know, maybe that's how it works.
That's funny, like vampires.
Exsanguinate, right?
I just thought that Dev just wanted to have fun. You know, why do people fight, you know, animals? They just feel like it. He was a little sadist, so he wanted to be a sadist AI. And so he's like, you guys are dumb. Kill each other. It's funny to me.
We're having tryouts tonight and we only have one opening.
Exactly, you know? I like it. It took me back to AI, artificial intelligence, you know? They did the same thing on a grand scale. Do you remember, Inez? They fought the bots.
See, that movie I could probably recite to you, but not The Good Son.
Yeah, but don't ask me though.
Oh my God.
I don't remember
you guys,
the AI movie.
Do I complete you? Is that what I'm hearing? Since I know both.
Yes.
Since I'm the one true fan here of movies.
Haven't even seen Dune 2 yet, but you are reveling in your 35-year-old movie that was like, I don't even know that was like a bright spot on anyone's career. It was sort of
Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin. Oh my gosh, I
love
rude.
that movie. That movie was super impactful on me. I love that movie.
Okay.
It was like
it made them.
Before
down,
this,
Paul.
It made Elijah and Macaulay, you know, he played a crazy person. Before this, he was kind of
Home Alone. That didn't make Macaulay Culkin. That was just like meh.
I think
whatever.
I think that Macaulay Culkin got that job because of this one. I mean, that's really great acting, being a little psycho kid like that. He was already famous when he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was already famous when
really
he did Home Alone.
Famous, like My Girl, Home Alone.
Yeah, it was really famous. Did you see? You haven't seen the behind the scenes of Home Alone, have you? Because he was the star, and everyone on the set knew that, and they even told him about it. This guy. We were moving on.
That's
so
funny.
what are we missing? What are we missing? We need to talk about. Let's talk about Halen's daddy.
Halen's dad. Okay, so
His daddy. I want you to say Halen's daddy.
Halen's daddy.
It was really funny. I mean, did you guys expect it to be his daddy? When he's like, what do you want, Dad? I was like, ooh, we got Halen back. He's not a little baby. He's feisty again.
Other kids play ball. I played Cyclops with you. My own father.
Since we know that Halen is subject to implanted memories, I was skeptical the whole time that we were dealing with his actual dad or something else. Mm-hmm. I think by the end of it, we're pretty sure it is his dad since he shows up in person. But the rest of the time, I was open-minded that this may all be a trick.
I was very skeptical about it, especially because I felt like what I heard the soldier tell the other soldier was launch the simulation.
Nathan! Simulation!
So that already kind of put me in the skeptic's corner about it because of last episode's emphasis on false memories. And then as the story kept progressing, his dad showing him the lieutenant of his flashbacks. And then that person, like, I don't know who you are. We've never met. And then I was wondering, like, you know, I think last episode we spoke, I said, do you guys think that's a false memory? I don't remember what the outcome was. Probably saying no, Inez. Like, you're wrong. Probably. I see your Gabby.
Sure maybe.
I'm feeling Gabby's voice on that.
Oh my God.
But anyway, so I still don't know. I still feel like maybe that is actually still a real memory, and I thought the simulation thing was the false memory.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was exactly like Paul. As soon as I saw whatever, I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, sure, let's go this route. And then, they start, they go to like Ocean La La Land and start chatting and all these things. And then I was like, okay, whatever. But now I'm listening. And then at the end, sure, I was still a little bit dismissive of it just because they're tricking me left and right in this show. But yeah, no, I guess at the very end, I started feeling really, really skeptical about it, where I was considering that it was real. I even considered like maybe it's like that's a real person, but it's not his dad.
If that memory's false with the woman who becomes the lieutenant and doesn't say that she knows who he is any portion of that memory real? Or did he just wind up wherever that artifact dust was, ingested it somehow, and then took off to Beacon 23? Was that just all in his head? Or was that even the way it went down? Did he potentially run into the artifact fragments in some completely other way?
And the artifact would just want him to think that? I mean, that's like a fun theory, but no, I definitely think that there has to be some truth behind it, because I don't think that the artifact would be that deep about the false memories. Like, I feel like it's more of like manipulation of what has happened to some extent than totally out of our ass. So I don't think the artifact has like time for that.
I mean, it'd be something if he had an incorrect memory about someone that also remembered him, but someone that doesn't remember him, but he remembers them completely. That's weird. That's very different. But that could be implanted, I guess. It'd be trying to think through what advantage would the military have for imprinting memories on people using other soldiers as those memories.
Well, I mean, it's all about
vulnerability.
Olive.
That die but are still alive. That die in the memory but are still alive elsewhere in the military.
It's about emotional manipulation, right? So it doesn't matter. You're just using pieces you maybe have seen. Maybe he saw her before or whatever. But I know, as you were saying, Olive. Yes, Olive.
I mentioned this last time too, is like QTA gets their orders from Olive.
Right.
And these military people, like, that's QTA, right? How does this work? Is military separately?
No, military separate.
On paper, I guess it's separate, but
Yeah, but they're all Olive.
It sounds like, yes, exactly.
I think it could be Olive and whatnot. So I feel like it's possible that the artifact stuff could be Olive's doing, and is not about Olive specifically choosing Halen as a person specifically. I think I mentioned a long time ago, either in season 1 or the early parts of this season, to just people's algorithms based off of who they are and what their tendencies of stuff will do. We learned from the last episode that the soldiers can be like super focused and heartless to execute their job, no thoughts about it, they just get it done, don't have feelings. And Olive, is his entire makeup is somebody who is highly emotional, has a lot of like suffering, and isn't fully committed to following blind orders kind of stuff when he's reached a certain kind of emotional point. And all of this kind of stuff can be predicted with a very sophisticated algorithm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, robots can do whatever they want with emotional humans, so why not? Or AI, so why not? And then, yeah, I mean, we know Olive is here, which I'm so happy to see him again. He's looking good. Olive, shout out to you. You look fantastic. Love what you're doing. Yeah, so I mean, once I saw him, I was like, yay! I was confused, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he's the answer.
I did think that that was his real dad because of them like talking about the stories, and I don't know, it just seems like Halen struggles a lot with when he's recalling the flashback memories all of the time, and this one there was no like emotional turmoil. He was just like, I had my 13th birthday here and you stopped me from having fun.
Yeah, I was like, come on, Halen, come on, like this is the theme. Just, yeah, no, the world was very unfair to Halen. And I was like, I get it. I get it. He started young with the injustices of his life, you know, occurring. So what I thought was that maybe it was a simulation where they used the dad's like figure, but it wasn't really the dad. But then you saw the dad later on. So I thought, honestly, the dad did come, but that maybe he wouldn't have known what happened with the simulation. That's what I thought at the end of the episode.
They use the word simulation, not like communication.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It could be some kind of avatar of dad that is made to do something to get him to agree to
join, to come back, right?
Well, to have that implanted. Mm-hmm. And I think the most manipulative thing that he said was that he's not a deserter. This whole time he's thought that he's a deserter. But no, you're not a deserter. There was never a mission to desert.
Yeah, what did you guys feel about that? Like, just about the story, you know, considering that you did believe it.
I mean, if I was Halen, I'd want to believe what he was telling me, but it would be such a mental disparity between what I thoroughly knew about myself versus what I would want to believe about myself.
Okay, so I have a question, actually, about that report that he was reading. So the military is just like aware of everything that he's been doing on the weekend, basically? Or
apparently, yeah, they've got good notes on it. Pictures, like, even.
Who's reporting this? Pictures.
Yeah, that was kind of questionable, right? Because they need that special communications system and a person in there to send communications to far, reaching distances. We know that Olive is interested in this location and that he can split his attention. He doesn't have...
And in Halen.
Right. And so whatever the humans need in order to communicate with other humans, maybe we can take for granted that Olive doesn't need the same thing. Maybe he's got...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but you know what?
What?
I'm thinking maybe that is the case. Maybe it was just Olive and all this simulation was bogus. And it really wasn't the dad, because that would make sense that Olive is just, Olive knows who his dad is. So Olive could have just made all of that up completely and then just made this little file from his own memories or his own eye.
Could be. Because Olive was present for some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it doesn't include the Sibarians. It includes the column people and those...
Yeah, that's where it ended. And then it ended with Aster. Yeah, the end with Aster before the Sibarians.
He gave her a funny name, a QTA defector. That's a funny
I think
term.
He did call her a defector.
I didn't know what to make of that term in that context.
Well, because wasn't she like hired by QTA to retrieve something, and then she betrayed them and like killed Coley and all this stuff? Like her own personal mission was more important than like the orders. That would make her a defector.
I guess so. I don't know that I would use that word, but yeah, I could guess I would understand it if I was keeping up on the context in the conversation.
What word would you use?
Traitor, enemy. I don't know. Defector seems more like a political designation, like someone leaving one country for another, or maybe that's how he thinks of QTA. If Daddy Halen in the simulation is actually Olive.
Yes, and I'm going to say he is Olive. But just skipping a little bit because it was like kind of flashbacky this episode. Dasto was so funny that he annoyed Deb. I don't think Deb really wanted to murder Dasto. I don't think that was his like intention when he decided to start imprinting. But I felt like when Dasto started being annoying is that when Deb was like, you know what, this is done. We're going to go this route because it's more fun. This guy's questioning me and whatever. So I thought that was hilarious.
And Dasto's like, I don't have the upper body strength for that.
I'm no pilot. I don't have the military clearance, let alone the upper body strength to command such a vessel.
But you are resourceful, driven, cunning.
That is kind of funny.
Yeah, so anyway, I guess there wasn't a lot between Dasto and Dev, but I thought that the little banter and stuff was super funny. And how did you like, Paul, the execution scene of Dasto?
He couldn't have thought that was going to work. He had it coming in a sense because he had betrayed them and their people and cost lots of people that they knew their lives. He had directly killed one of their little clan on the escape craft. And according to their ways, this was long overdue. It was just Iris and Halen kind of getting in the way up until now. I thought he was silly for being fooled into thinking that they would consider aligning themselves with him even to get off, like to recreate their partnership on the previous escape craft on a new one. Nah, he's a dummy for that.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny because we open up the episode with them like, we're going to slow bleed him. And then they're like in this urgent kind of scenario
like,
when they're in the A-log. And then as soon as they got the opportunity, there was no thoughts about it. It was just like grab him, shove him over, stab him and go. So I was like, all right, that's just really funny. They're like, well, no time for like ceremonies at the right now.
That's funny. I didn't think about that. You're right. Because that's so funny. I bet that was intentional too.
Yeah, they just got to get the job done now. This is like their third opportunity to kill him. And they were like, fuck it. Gotta get it done.
No
Honestly,
songs.
I hadn't seen a lot of like knives either. So I was really surprised that they were all carrying knives. I thought it'd be like a different tool because they had different tools that they were showing us before. So I feel like he thought that there was something sketchy going on. And I mean, it looked like he wasn't trusting Dev at all, but he knew that Dev is an AI and Dev did save his life. And so he was just in a very vulnerable place. And I don't know, I think maybe he thought that the AI was like somehow controlling them or something. So,
or maybe Dev had done what AIs are supposed to do, which is calculate your chances, right? To see
of course that
if
happened.
They're making a good recommendation or not. But he didn't know Dev was a clown in AI clothing and just wanted to see what would happen.
Yes. So that was some good stuff. I liked that. Back to Daddy Halen. What he disclosed that they negotiated that trade with QTA and he was never on the mission, and that he said he was trying to help him and will you let me help you, son? Just those little lines. I felt like that was hardcore manipulation. Like, I feel like that was too intentional, which is why it's making me think that, like, again, it is not actually the dad. It was just too much baiting.
You know, as you guys are going on about it, I think you're right, because we can't discount that they intentionally called it simulation. And I just can't see how a simulation is meaning that Daddy Halen is actively communicating with him. And you're right, it's just kind of pre-programmed with all of the information that they already know about them and their history and everything. And then, Paul, I think you said, if I was Halen, I'd probably ask blah, blah, blah. But I was just thinking in that moment, if I was Halen, I'd be like, why am I on this rock in the middle of the water? Like, how did this transition happen to me? What is going on? I feel like he didn't spend enough time being confused. Do you think that's because he's been through these simulations before because of his military training?
Yeah.
Okay, because he was just like way too chill about like, I was running around getting my ass kicked and then now I'm here.
Yeah, it made me think for a moment. I was like, oh my God, is this the plot twist where Halen's in on it the whole time? And, you know, it's like a Neo meets the creator moment. But no, it wasn't.
You're right about the knives, because they tried sticking the female soldier a few times and it didn't matter.
Yeah, they stabbed the female soldier in like the right shoulder and she took it out and I don't know, there was no blood.
They stabbed her in the kidney area too, and that didn't seem to matter.
Oh my gosh.
Well, she's a super soldier. So I don't think that it would matter.
There should at least be some blood, right?
She has her battery pack on. Maybe she doesn't bleed. Maybe all of her blood is redirecting it right to healing, and that's the end of it. Because that's the evolution of the soldier.
Yeah, like Wolverine.
The whole time I kept wondering, where is Halen's battery pack, and why isn't he using it? And
again, yeah, I guess it takes too long to turn on. He was already tied up. It did take him
long to charge.
He misplaced it. He doesn't know where it is.
Maybe he threw it out the window when he was throwing a fit and thought he was dying, you know?
Okay, well, I'll accept that.
One or the other. He didn't have it.
I like that I have all the answers today. I like that.
I appreciate that. My creativity
very persuasive
modal is quite low, I'm noticing.
You're like the Daddy Halen of the podcast. With
yes.
Your manipulations.
Oh my
God. The Daddy Halen?
Yeah.
I'm not the Olive. I'm the Daddy Halen today.
Olive just showed up at the very, very last, like, second. So it doesn't, yeah.
Did you not watch The Matrix? Do you not remember the creator? Because he showed up at the end, but he was there the whole time watching. Okay. He needs credit. And I'm so sorry that you don't remember. You need to do better.
I do.
Paul, just a little 411. We used to watch The Matrix for my birthday, and she actually bought me the Matrix movies, like, for my birthday.
You watch all three?
Yeah.
Or just the first one?
Well, like, as they came out, I got it for my birthday, and then we'd watch it, and then afterwards we'd just, like, watch them. Yeah, but we tried to do the marathon, and we didn't quite make it, so we've seen the first and second one a lot.
Third one, not so much?
Very obsessed. Yeah, I was very obsessed with The Matrix.
Not obsessed.
It was great.
I'm not obsessed, but
just like we did the same thing with Lord of the Rings. It was the same level as you were with Lord of the Rings. That was obsession and love.
Okay. It's not obsession, it's love. It's love and passion.
Both are true.
Well, if you love it, don't bother with the fourth one.
I've seen them all.
Oh.
Sir.
Okay.
So we're moving on from your trash talk. Get out of town, Paul.
A fan of the fourth one.
Doing.
I have not seen the fourth one at all. But what I have seen was that Halen decided that he wants to take the implant, and then we see how it closes with him greeting Olive as he begins undergoing this surgical procedure.
Right. So what does that mean? He's out on anesthesia, but now he's experiencing something else, something dreamlike. Is he on another plane of existence?
I don't know. I did just make a mental note that I didn't think that I seen a lot of kind of gory kind of stuff. So it kind of took me off guard a little bit, having them do a close-up shot of his, that
big drill bit?
The drill bit coming out of his head, and then showing his like folded skin, and I guess it's like brain right there. I'm not really sure. Whatever the matter.
You didn't think that was the brain? That was the brain.
Yeah. I mean, it was like really like sudden. It was like the very last like moments of the episode, and it was just kind of gray. I couldn't see. It could have been that membrane that coats the brain, but I'm just saying that I don't think that I recall another moment on the show that was kind of really gory. And that was kind of cool. Usually I see like somebody shoot and then they're bleeding out, but you don't see the wound. The only gory kind of stuff we saw were like the bio cables. But this was like on the brain from the surgery, and I thought that was kind of cool because I like that stuff. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for that shot.
You're welcome. I wanted to say that I have not seen Matrix 4, but I don't want to talk shit because I am a loyalist. That's why I defend it. But moving on to what you said, that was actually my favorite part, Inez. I wrote, "This is my high" on on the thing, which was seeing the brain. I thought it looked really cool, and it looked like a brain, and I've seen brains. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot it.
What did you think about that scene, Paul?
Well, I have a bad history with brain scenes, but this one didn't.
Let us hear it.
Well,
what does that mean?
I have only ever needed to leave a theater for the possibility of barfing twice. Once was for Cloverfield because it was too shaky. And where I was sitting, it was just motion sickness like crazy for me.
Because it was really loud?
No.
Well, it's like a documentary style. It's like everybody's camera.
Right.
So it was,
and then
the running away.
Cloverfield.
It's such a great movie, but yeah, I can see that happening.
And then the second time was at the end of the Silence of the Lambs sequel, the one with Julianne Moore as
Hannibal?
Yes. When they cut off Ray Liotta's top of his head and feed him his own brain. Yeah,
That's such a good scene. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, that day was too much for me, and I almost lost it, but did not, and came back to the theater sweating, but without having barfed.
Wait, but you saw the rest, right? You saw it all the way to the end?
Yeah, like the pigs tearing up the guy
girl.
and all that. Yeah, I saw a lot of it.
No, where he shared it with the girl.
No. When Ray Liotta starts eating his own brain, that's when I was like, I gotta go. So
you've never seen the end?
He came back. He just didn't.
Yeah, I came back at a certain point. I didn't want to miss the end of the movie, but the rest of the brain dinner, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, and I did
But I
think
thought
about you,
the
Paul, when I was watching, when I saw this, I was like, whoa, like I haven't seen the Diz gore and I know how Paul gets. So I'm so curious because it was a close up on this and I liked it. I loved how the skin looked folded. Like I just really.
It's not gore.
It's not gore, but I knew it was gory. I know my guy. So
That's not gore. That's just medical.
I know that. You know that. You and I
Oh,
are
right.
medical people in our history. And it just is what it is. There are billions of people in the world. And some of us like that shit.
I know.
And Paul
it's just
doesn't.
the word gore. It's just the word gore. Like there was no blood.
It's a clean incision.
Yeah, it was.
I'll just mention, since I'm on a little bit of a rant here about, like, I really liked a lot of cinematography in the episode. I did like the scenery from the simulation. I liked seeing the water and them on that rock and then it kind of coming out. It just kind of also made me feel something about that lighthouse picture of them, the beacon, the lighthouse surrounded by water. But this was like a platform in the middle of the water and nothing there. So I don't know if there is any it might be reaching just to say, but that's just like where my mind, that's just where my mind went about it. And I just really loved it. I think it's just nice to see new scenery too, because we've been living on the beacon here for 2 seasons.
It's reminiscent of in modern VR applications where if you were to want to have a chat with someone else in VR, then you would do that in a very limited environment where it would be you and your friend on the top of a castle and then no way to get off of that tower or whatever, or in a space station room, or on a rock outcropping in the middle of oceany expanse that it does not look like any 13-year-old could swim to from any shoreline because there was none in sight.
Yeah, and sorry, I just had to remember the end of Hannibal. I just want to tell you, Paul, what you missed. So I forgot that the ending was the end, but you see that happen with Ray Liotta and with Clarice, and then he leaves. He manages to escape because Clarice is drugged. And then you see him on a plane, and when he's flying, he brings out his to-go baggie with his food, and this little girl's walking by, and he has a cookie and the brains, and she asked for the brains and he shared it with her. And then it cut
I don't
to,
think I
the
saw
boar
that
scene. Yeah, you didn't, and that makes me sad. So I wanted to tell you, and I might send you that scene later. Anyway, back to what you guys were saying, because it's not gory.
That's subjective. What people's level of gore is a spectrum. So
I'm gonna look up what the word gore means.
But Paul, it's like Lord of the Rings and Matrix. Gabby was also equally obsessive over all of the Hannibal Lecter films. Only reason I really watched all of these things so many times was because of her and me making my little baby sister really happy.
Oh my God. Well, you didn't have to, okay? Because I was just happy by myself watching these things.
No, it's okay. You did want me there, and I was there for you, and that's okay. I'm just sharing with Paul why it's so important that you needed to close this off.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, sorry. Blood that has been shed, especially as a result of violence. I don't know that fits the definition. Okay, sorry.
All right. So as this episode ends, we have Sibarians on a stolen ship, but it is adrift. We have Iris on the beacon. We have Harmony on the beacon. Dev, no more. Dasto, no more. Halen in surgery. 2 soldiers, a surgeon, and Daddy Halen. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, we barely even touched on the Sibarians. I hope that they get away, right? I mean, that was Iris's entire storyline, was she was working on helping them. And I think that's a really important aspect of her character, right? Because she wanted to be an admiral and she was all about the rules. And now in this episode, we saw her really show herself as a leader, and then finds out that she's actually the head of the resistance, and, telling everybody her name and wanting to be helpful. And one of the quotes really early on that I noticed was when she, showed empathy for the Sibarians, and that's when the military lady was like, oh, so now we're siding with terrorists. I think that was really significant and cool to learn more and see our girl like be an action-packed badass.
It was fun getting to see her get down and dirty in the action here, grabbing hold of that super soldier and really thinking she was going to take her down. She just stayed true to like her real character, which I think early on we defined her real character as somebody who like is super structured. He needs to follow like these rules, honoring these kind of rules or being loyal to like this specific mission was so important to her. But actually she's a humanitarian and a justice warrior, if you will, and that will override whatever she thought it was. This is now overridden, and this is where we get to see her real colors come out. And so that was really beautiful, watching her have this connection with the Sibari people after she whipped them in line, because they're about to sing at her again, right? And and just came out strong. And then they were like, all right, we're gonna do your plan. She's like, I'm gonna help you like get out of here. And she does. She follows through, and they all know that she's this really good person. She's a strong leader, and she saves their ass. And that's how they get on the ship. I mean, now the ship's stranded, but I feel like Iris is not going to relent whatsoever about that. I think that's still going to be top of mind.
Yeah, I totally loved that moment where they where the military comes in and they start breaking the glass, and she just stands up and starts reciting the rules, like the Beacon Handbook rules. Like, I thought that was really amazing. Like, that was a really beautiful scene, and it was so powerful. I can imagine how she felt as an actress for her character too. It was powerful. I was very happy to see it.
Well, and it's come to Jesus moment, right? She's at a crossroads in her little life, right? Where she has put a lot of emphasis on trusting these rules. And now she's coming face to face with the reality of things, like stuff she doesn't want to know, stuff she doesn't want to hear. Like, they don't matter. The military is going to do whatever they want to do regardless. And they're here under someone else's orders completely. Pivotal stuff, whatever happens with Iris next, like you're saying, becoming part of a resistance that is antithetical to what she's been working for so far in her life. But she's accepting this idea of a beacon keeper, not so much as a person that mans a station in space, but protects people.
So I just want to pivot to the Sibari people. So when Halen reunites with them after he gets out of the gravity limbo that he was in, the Sibari person who has like the arms that have been burned off or cut off, I don't know his name and I apologize for that, but he starts to explain a bit about their song and how it impacts people, and then starts to talk to Halen about like, man, we would never have guessed that it would affect you so much in this way, that you were so lost and so broken. I have trouble kind of deciphering what these kind of things mean. So what is the song like doing? Like, why are they surprised by how it affected Halen? And how do they know that like how it affected Halen is different than how it affected Iris, since they both cried and passed out? There
was a little bit of, at the beginning of the episode, there was like a moment of some of that flashback stuff to his implanted memories. But how would that guy know that unless they have some other kind of psychic sensitivity that we're not aware of that kind of ties in with their song, right? Their song is like an amplifier for their minuscule psychic talent that when used together, they can influence people, make them go to sleep, but maybe they can also feel what they feel while they're doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet that's a pretty good explanation. Makes sense to me.
Something
so like if he wasn't so lost or broken, then maybe the song would not have affected him past a certain point. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like maybe it could theoretically, if he was like a very healthy mind and very healthy everything, that he maybe would feel the tears part, but not necessarily the pain and pass out part. And that you only got to that point because something's really messed up in you. And that just happened to mean that all three of those people had something really messed up in them.
That could be. But Iris came out of it fighting, whereas Halen came out of it kind of less vigorous. I think she got him out, whereas he needed to be gotten out. Does that make sense? The difference?
Like he would have been happy floating still. down there, like
whimpering,
oh, well.
and yeah.
He's been sad-eye
Oh,
Halen
right.
like all 2 seasons. So I mean,
right.
and he was like teary, went to talking to Daddy Halen the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure it has to do with the artifact, though, like being inside of him and messing things up. Because his daddy like trained him to be like the ultimate soldier. That's probably why the artifact chose him, but also why the artifact needed him to be incredibly vulnerable too, like to brainwash him out of his conditioning, because he was bred biologically to be a soldier basically because of his dad, and then on top of that they did all the extra enhancements too. So that's what I think.
Yeah,
I think it's the artifact.
I like that because it explains like why he has never been as crazy as all them, and why Harmony in season 1 was stating that PTSD doesn't exist anymore because something had overridden his programming that opened that wound up. And so I guess if we stick with that, then we have to accept that the simulation version of his memories is definitely a fake, and that his flashbacks are definitely real, because that would be the only way that he got the artifact into his body, right? Was that direct exposure and breathing it in.
Yeah, I mean, the artifact is a trump card for sure, the most powerful thing, more than Aleph. So yeah, maybe so. Look at us, Team Artifact. Look at Gabby Daddy prevailing for the artifact. Oh, so glad. Okay. So Harmony, sure, she has that stuff with Dev where she kind of shuts him down. But I really loved seeing Harmony pretending to be the beacon AI. Let's talk about that. Go. You go first.
Loved it. A combination of like playing dumb and then making trouble for the soldier. Like, oh, that doesn't work. Oh, I can't do that. Yeah, I can't power that up. No, that's not working anymore. Just all sorts of roadblocks, and just pretending like she had no idea how to make anything work.
Did you hear me? Withdraw the air bridge.
I detect life forms in the airlock.
So what?
To withdraw the air bridge, you must first clear the life forms from the airlock.
You're being obtuse.
I'm sorry. I do not understand. Please just state your command.
I'll do it myself.
In a show with, I mean, an entire series without much comic relief, that was actually kind of a lot of it. And it was well done.
Yeah, it was so great. I love like all of that, because we know it's all sass. I know it's like she's not being sassy, but like the writing here is that this is sassy writing. And so it's so satisfying and really fun to watch her do that. So different from like the Harmony we've seen the entire season, who's been wounded. And here she is just like kind of been getting stronger each episode without it being like a big highlight that she's getting stronger. And I felt like these kind of moments here were kind of highlighting like really where she is as well. I loved it so much because they get pissed off at her and they can't touch her and she can just keep playing dumb. I loved like those, what's it like, those kind of like, hey Siri moments, right? Like, I did not understand. Please restate your
yes,
command.
Right, yeah.
And Alexa.
So great.
Yeah, I mean, then contrasting the first season Harmony as well, you know, when we met her versus now to this point, it's like, I can't believe that she's gotten here where she was sassy. I mean, she did have a little sassafras in her tone and her eyes.
Yeah, maybe a little tiniest grin.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Good for Harmony. She was stressed out, you know, all of the time. Aster was her buddy. She lost Aster. Even with Aster, you know, they both meant business. But now she is free. I want to see her fly. Like, I want a season 3 because there's no way that I'm just going to get one more episode of Harmony. Her character is just like on the up and up. I love it.
You're right. I mean, from when we met her, she was very businesslike with Aster. It's quite a distance.
Yeah, now she's in her cozies. She's thriving. We all thrive when we're in our cozies.
Oh my gosh, you are so funny. Ironically, I don't. I need uniforms to and then like that imaginary thinking cap on to get me in the zone. But she's great.
You're season 1 Harmony. Gotcha. I'm season 2.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I liked, you know, we got to see the zero gravity again. So that was nice in the beginning. But also the conversation that Harmony had with Iris coming down the stairs, just that full shot. I hadn't seen them use the stairs in a little while, so I thought that was cute, their little secret conversation. I saw the set. I saw more of the set again. I guess I was reminded that there's more to the beacon, and it did remind me of like season 1. We saw a lot of different rooms in the beacon, so yeah, I appreciated seeing more of the set too.
Okay, folks, how about high, low, high for this episode? Gabby, you can't reuse yours. You have to come up with new ones on the fly, and they have to be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm going to be last.
Well, I'll start then. High was Harmony's performance to the military. That was definitely a huge, happy, grinning moment and experience for me. My lows, I just really didn't like the military people, like, at all. Like, I didn't find them cool. I didn't find them, like, anything. Like, I hated them. So I guess that's good for, like, the writing and acting, that I really hated them. And I was just really annoyed seeing them every time. And then my last high was probably the brain surgery part. I love that stuff so much.
All right. For my high, I'm going to go with specifically Iris getting one over on the female soldier with that repulsor weapon, sneaking up, stealing it, and blasting her with it. That was a thrilling way to end that conflict, because that woman was basically on a rampage and needed to be stopped. And Iris managed to do it for a minute, so that was satisfying. What I didn't like had to do with some kind of type moments, like Sibarians stealing the military ship and the military turning it off by remote control. Stuff like that.
That was so good.
And then my other high was, I never really liked the Dev character. I know that Glenn does, but as the Joker said, I'm glad you're dead.
So that was your last high?
Yep.
That's funny, seeing Dev go. All right, so my first high is seeing Daddy Halen and being able to use Daddy Halen on this podcast and then being called Daddy Gabby. My low was seeing Harmony destroy Dev pretty easily, because I'd have appreciated seeing more AI warfare. Could have been anything. They could have taken us to another simulation place too, but it's fine. But that was a low, what I was missing out on. And then my high was seeing my guy Aleph. Missed him. Again, you're looking great, Aleph. Thank you. And those were good, right? They're good.
Those are good. Those are all good.
Yes.
Well, I think that does it for this week's episode of Beacon 23. We have one more to go before the final episode of the season. We also have a couple more interviews to get published. We still have our interview with Ellen Wong to publish, and our interview with production designer Evan Weber. And as a coda to the end of the season, we will have a finishing up type conversation with Glenn Mazzara, as well as Natasha Mumba Harmony herself. So you have all that to look forward to on this podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast if you like it on iTunes, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, wherever you listen to it. Give us the highest rating possible. Leave a review. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. And get everyone you know to listen to us, and that would be great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.